This is Bob from LIGHTBOB TV, and today we are talking. Uh, we are episode 5. I can't believe we're that far, and that I survived. Like I was telling you earlier, this is all about training. It's all about doing it, showing up every day. And for me, it is a big deal because there's a lot of randomity in my life, and but I it's like going to the gym, coming every day and explaining to you what I'm going to do and what we're going to do and what we're going to talk about, and what is really passionate I'm really passionate about. And today, while I was thinking about manufacturing, I was thinking, like in my life, I help a lot of small manufacturers to start and to give them trust and bring them clients and create the rapport with them so that they could go to a next level and move on and expand, and all of that was in the spirit of helping. And and I, as much as I help, as much also as I was getting help, because as a designer, when I needed something, I need a special bracket, I need a something that was not, you know, that was not in the catalog or I can find, or an idea. It was always my go-to people, and from that evolve, certain problems. Uh, I remember a story of one manufacturer was helping, and they just had this big casino job, and they were very creative and they had the means to do it, but their competitor went to the client and told them they were a brand new startup and they didn't have the means to deliver. And then they came to me, and then they were freaking out because they were about to lose that very lucrative contract, and that, it's the kind of contract that puts you on the map, so you really want to do a good impression. And I knew they could do a good impression. I knew they had the like all the power and the tools and the knowledge. It's just that they never had a big job like this before. So what I did, and I said to them, and I said, listen, you're in this big order. You're going to be doing, you're going to be buying a lot of components, right? So you're going to be buying ballast, you're going to be buying sockets, you're going to be buying bulbs, you're going to be buying, metal, you're going to be buying whatever you'll be buying to build these big fixtures. So why don't you call your suppliers and ask them for a little introduction of them, their little history, whatever background they have in that field, and how they're supporting you, and how you've been working with them, and how they're there for you. So after having three, four of those letters, he sent to the client. The client was very impressed because in his lifetime nobody ever did that, and stick with him. And he loved the fact that he was well surrounded and that he could deliver. And of course, it became a success story. This happened. He ended up building a 20,000 square foot shop and do all kinds of international projects. But it's all because of the mentality. So how can I help little manufacturers? And that's why today, when I started to think, I said, how small manufacturer who thinks big, um, and they can build everything without having everything themselves. How they can build up the team. How they can work with experienced manufacturers. And that's where my idea of sharing these notes on OEM, because it's not something that it is very common, and OEM people, although they are very dynamic, there's less and less of them, and they are very busy with the big manufacturers. So it kind of opened the door for smaller manufacturers to come in start helping them to promote. So when a small manufacturer try to expand, or to start to go and bid on bigger project, what's happening is that they need more material, they need more supplies, they need more sources, they'll need more expertise, they'll need more engineering, and it's not always part of the budget, unfortunately. um, when you're a startup, you don't have an R&D budget of 20 million or $1 billion, or. So you're, as a startup and as a small manufacturer, you'll be in situation where you're really good to do something, and you got to do everything else. You're really good to make some kind of a pendant, and you have a very creative way of hanging that. Well, you don't need to manufacture socket. You don't need to manufacture cables. You don't need to manufacture drivers. You don't need to manufacture canopy. You don't need to manufacture, So all of these little elements that are part of your formula, now you can outsource and work with people that are really, really good at it. And what's happening sometimes is that they too have ideas or wanted to come in and design something or create something, and they don't have the resource on their hand to do. They don't have the resource to do the integration. They don't have the resource to do, and most of the time it's not their job. Let's say you have a supplier of LED. Their job is to make the best LED, and they what they love is that somebody like you are going to take their LED and put it in one of your fixtures and you know uh, uh, give it a new life that nobody else does. So now they're expanding their market, and they're bringing new application to their clients and say, hey, look, this company did that. This company did this. We can do this. You can do that. So they're basically using you also as their promotional tool. So it's a win-win situation, because you are promoted by the company and you're promoting somebody else that has backup, so that give credential to your product. So when I thought about this episode, and I thought, well, let's talk about what's what's behind the curtain. Like, if I was a small manufacturer, what do I want to know? How how would I how can I make it? And how can I use this system and this OEM technology, so that I can improve my my situation as a small manufacturer. I don't have a R&D budget, or I'm very limited. Maybe I had a good idea in college or at university. I did some prototype. I bought a couple 3D printers, and now I have a good idea what I want to do, but I don't have the R&D. I don't have also the engineering. Like how I'm gonna calculate the temperature, or what kind of optics, and you know so and how can I take some pressure off this, of everything else, and put it on somebody else, so that I can produce what I want to do, and be attractive to clients and make some sales. And who knows, maybe in the future be acquired by another company, or acquire somebody myself that have this, attract some capital, venture capital, and then have, and start buying company that are supplying me, so that we can integrate all this in one. And these success stories are closer than you think. It's not about, the size of company you are today. It's about your vision. It's about who you are, how you're going to do, and understanding the system. And and OEM is there for that. That's why, once you understand what OEM does, and how it can leverage your company, your small company, and even a big company, like how you can work together, how you increasing your network, how your now your credential, go 10x because you're using, some very high end LED in your fixtures and some very high end drivers, and everything that you're using are high end material. So now you are in that range of fixtures or luminaire that deserve that recognition. Only your design is high end, but all the components that you're using are part of it. And God knows that you may you may be a super talented person, right? You may be able to draw to design the fixture. You may be able to design your own driver. You may be able to design your own control system. You may be reinventing optics. But like this is also where most manufacturers break it. They slow down. They die. Why? Because you're not it's not the lack of talent, but it's the strategy that goes behind. If while you're spending time developing stuff, you're not selling, you're not exposing yourself to people, you're not creating, marketing strategy or alliance or working with other company to try to project or to develop new piece of market. And this is really where your value becomes important, because between you and me, as we've been talking, yes, you may have the best idea for a general diffuse lights, but if it's in your basement and if it's stick in your office and you're spending 10 years to put it up, well, guess what? You know, nobody knows you for 10 years. And then you'll have to catch up all that time, because no matter how old is your company, you are judged by what you produce. People are going to say, what have they produced? They're 10 years old, never heard of them. What have they produced? Well, nothing. They've been working to make the perfect. Yeah, but did they made any mistake? Did they work with anybody? Did they do any project? So the experience is very important, but also the way that you're perceived by the public is even more, because if you're not there, you're out of it. While if you're working, let's say, with a large brand, and then you get into their ecosystem, every large brand have new released every. Sometimes they do it yearly. Sometimes they do by quarters. Sometimes they do half a year. Sometimes they have road show, specific road show. They go and they go to different distributor and they demonstrate. You'll have this leverage of being part of a group, an ecosystem that can, promote you while you keep developing your next product. And 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 this is also a way to keep you from being isolated, because as a small manufacturers, and I know, all the responsibilities on your shoulder, plus all your other personal responsibility that are also there, because you have family, you have responsibility. So very quickly, you'll be facing some stress, financial stress, some family stress, product delivery stress, quality control, and all of that is is not really necessary. When you work with already set up company, they will bring you with reports. They will bring you with certification. They will bring you with certain level of expertise. And as a startup, there's nothing wrong being an integrator, taking the best LED, taking the best optic, taking the best casing, putting this together, asking the lens people, can you modify this a little bit without changing all your tooling? It is a beautiful way to start in the manufacturing and have a home run. Because without putting all this capital from the start, from the get-go, you get to work with all the big players. You get to have their case study. You get to have access to their engineers. You get to have access to samples. You get to have and maybe you have this desire of inventing something. Maybe you're a super inventor. Well, now you're with people that are gonna help you make your and there is all kinds of protective documents and paper that you can sign. But when you have a talent as a creator, your job is to create. Some people are not good at create. They're good at manufacturing things. So yes, you can protect yourself. You can take a couple seminars on how to protect your patent. You can take a seminar, but to start, just go and validate your idea. Once you validate a couple of them and you have products that are rolling, then you can come up with your super duper invention, right? Your life changing invention. So most company don't want to build everything. If you look at the bigger company, what they do is they acquire a company that does this, acquire a company that does that. And when they acquire them, they don't. They said you keep doing what you're doing, and we're just going to integrate this line of product with your control. We're just going to, introduce these LED part of your fixtures, which are, by the way, superior or whatever, right? So that you're a driver company, that you are a control company, that you're a fixture company. When you see a newer manufacturer, somebody that is starting up, it is way easier to deal with them than a company that's been there for 30 years and maybe they have some lawsuit and maybe they have shady, background and this and that. So you, as a brand new company, you come in and you go to the little not the little but the legal protocol and you do all your paperwork and you align and you present your case and then you start working together. Imagine the power that you have not having to invest heavy capital into all of this. Or maybe you have an idea for a new part of these technology. Maybe you have a new control idea that requires no wiring. Maybe you have one driver that does everything, a universal driver. Maybe the way you manufacture fixtures, you have these amazing out of space or aerospatial grade 3D printers, and you can print anything, metal, you can print acrylic, you can print whatever. So it is a win-win situation in either case. Now, all projects all projects demand that you work together. So if you're not a team players, um, then you are in a different seat because there's no real competitor in the lighting industry. There can be some people um, that have particularity and are going in one axis and that's it. But at the end of the day, you know, one company will be represented by this agency this year. In 3 years, they're not satisfied. They get another agency. Then they get another agency. So you, um, as a manufacturers, may think that you're only going to talk with these people, and that's going to be a wedding or a marriage for the rest of your life. Well, I wish it was true, and I would love to see it happen, but I never seen it happen. I saw a lot of company moving through different hands, and especially when you do international business, because you don't know what you don't know. You may hear that certain agency have maybe 50 reps, and instantly you have 50 people that are going to go sell your your product. But let's say this company is in Alaska, and most of the line that they represent are product that goes on the oil field, and you have some very decorative fixtures that are made of glass and crystal, and have very well, it doesn't go with the market that that agency is representing. So part of it, you'll have to do your homework. Part of it, you'll see that sometimes, you know and it could be the opposite. Maybe this company, they, because all the line they have are industrial, you as a decorative line will make a killer. So it is very important to understand and talk and communicate and get in touch and go see for yourself what's going on with these products. So now let's talk a little bit about OEM. What does really mean, right? So OEM is not doesn't mean that you take your fixtures and you have somebody else to manufacturing. OEM has nothing to do with outsourcing. OEM is simply a strategic collaboration. So basically, you decide, you're not going to build everything. You're going to build component A, B, and C, and you're going to partner with a company that's going to do D and E, and that is the core of your business, right? And that's how simple it is. And sometimes you may have all your you may have all how could I say? Sometimes you may have all your line everything lined up, and what you need, you may not, maybe you don't need a part, you don't need something, you need something else. You need uh, uh, a specific way of shipping your product. You may be needing a component that you're not offering. As an example, if you do uh, heads, you may manufacture the best street lights in town, but you don't have the facility to manufacture lighting pole. So you will buy the lighting pole from somebody else and then supply them as a package, or adapt your fixture for that pole. And maybe you have a very design. This weekend I was in LA and we were talking about the new lights that they designed, the street lights in the at LAX, and they have these beautiful poles. So maybe part of your design require that you do a specific alliance with a lighting pole company to manufacture that component specifically for you. So nobody else will have it. They just, because that's what their expertise is. Their expertise is onto how the fixture is going to hold on the ground, how it's going to resist to wind, how it's going to resist to weather, what's the maximum height, and so forth. And your job is to build the lighting fixtures that goes on it. That's going to give this fantastic lighting distribution with these, lifetime LED and the driver, and then you're going to have integrated to that a bunch of other features. So the OEM collaboration starts from whatever parts you feel that you don't have an expertise, and you will see also as you grow, you'll find that some parts are better to just deliver. You're gonna work on getting, maybe try to do your own casing, and then you need a paint shop, then you need a cleaning, you need the chrome, you need this because people want. So maybe it's just easier to get in the order, and once the clients order 50 of this and 25 of this, and those are the color, take this, send them to the manufacturer, get the casing, and then assemble them. That may be faster than you trying to manage 6 employees and 4 different machine, chemical product delivery, all kinds of stuff, which tie into today's shortage of labor. But that's another problem we'll have another day. But you get the idea. So that can solve a lot of problems, because now you work with people that are very reliable on sources, on control, that have a longevity. like I was telling you, my friend, at the beginning of the episode, who had no experience but had some talent. So by having these guys that have been in the business forever and that have done several projects and helping him, now you can have, you know, now you have some credential. That's the word, because I'm French. I was trying to think. So there's also a catch 22 to that, because it's very tempting sometimes to go and get some cheap parts, and as an example, you will get you're buying a big brand driver, and then now somebody else come and said, how much you pay for your driver? Oh, we can cut it in half. And then you start calculating in your head, and you say, well, maybe. But as we were talking yesterday, uh, failure is very expensive. Maintenance is very expensive. Having pallets of stock that you have to throw away because they're not reliable product is even more expensive. Delays are expensive. So it is important to make sure that whoever you're going to do a partnership with is very stable, and they give you the service that you need when you are on a downfall. They, it will happen. You get on a job, uh, the it was supposed 120, 240, and the electrician wired it for 347, and he grilled all your power supply. Well, okay, the electrician's going to replace them. The fault is not yours, not the driver. But now you need a pallet of those driver, and when are they going to be there? And how are you going to make sure that you're not 27 on the queue of the manufacturer, and it delays you and penalizes you. So by knowing people, by having a good relationship with your OEM, what's happening is that now you're talking, you have some, maybe a couple, couple pallet of backup for your future order. You have this, you have that, and then you're protected, right? Now just think of the economical cost of that, how you economize, because now you don't have to worry that you have to pay for them. They're at the manufacturer's office or warehouse, and when they ship, you have to pay. So now you don't have to. That's another advantage that also we'll talk on the economics of, when we start. So the 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 the, the component part of OEM is very, very, first of all, is super easy to handle, because once you decide what part you want, and when you decide the quality and the quantity and the rollout, then you know it's just like going to Costco. You call, or and then they deliver you whatever you need for that order. Or you every time you go under 100, they send you another one. You have automatic inventory system, and all of this will make you more efficient and keep you focused on what you're doing. Let's say you're really, really good at designing optics. Well, you'll be able to spend you know most of your time designing optics and not worry about the rest of your list of material, your bill of material, where it come from, and it's all taken care of. Or managing people, or so now we see how we're shifting from manufacturing light to assembling intelligent lighting, right? Because we will we used to sell product. We had a limited catalog. We had to compete on price. We had to reinvent the component. When you have five pallet or rack, pallet rack full of parts, you got to use the same part to do something different. Now, what you are is now you're offering a system. Now you're scalable. Now you're competing on intelligence. You're leveraging the best in class partners. So you're positioning yourself, even as a newcomer, as a startup, as a company that is very competitive compared to a company that has been there forever, and they are, they're stuck in their paradigm because they don't want to they don't want to change, and they cannot change. When you have 100,000 square foot factory and you have millions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars in inventory and in machinery, and you have thousands of people that are working for you, it's a very, very hard boat to turn around. But when you are a small company and you see the market shift and the products and the parts, the components, it's very, you can start switching very fast, and especially if you are focusing on something that is aesthetic, that can be adapted, and you design it with in mind already the existing component, which are just there to make a fixture smart, or to make it longer, or to have a better optic. Well, guess what? Your your credential and your flexibility is way faster. Imagine you don't have to have 20 engineers. You send them a concept, then they send you an engineering document saying, okay, we can do this. They have all the certification, the testing, the R. They even gonna go and get you the R&D investment money, because after a while, when they see how you're pivoting and how you're operating, they will come to you. They will say, hey, listen, we have this and this and this. What can you do with that? Over my life, I would say a dozen people that I design fixtures steadily for them, because I would come in and I would say, okay, I need this and I need that. And then they would challenge me to say, hey, I have a client that came and he said he wants this. How can we do this? So again, collaboration, designers, manufacturers, and OEM all together. Sometimes I would be in a trade show, and I would see some parts that I like, and I would tell them, well, come to my office, and I'll invite 3-4 manufacturers. So we would do a lunch and learn with different manufacturers in my design office, and then we would brainstorm. I would get their design department. I would get an engineers. And then the manufacturer would come with their parts, and we would brainstorm, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's the lighting industry is very open, and of course everybody's got their own secret sauce or their own calendars and their own you know their own agenda, which is perfect, because you don't need, like, I don't care what others do. I have enough, confidence on myself that I don't need to worry that somebody's going to copy me, because they're not me. So first of all, you by getting the credibility of others, you reduce your own risk, right? And also you are raising your capacity to produce and deliver. So just that, makes you ahead of the pack, because a lot of people are dreaming. Like, a lot of people want to do this, they want to do that, but when it comes at the end of the day, they they don't have what it takes. I had another funny story. I was at Light Fair, and I met these guys, and they're like, And they said, "Oh, LIGHTBOB, we know you." And I'm like, "Really?" And then what happened is that one of my guys was in another show, and I had these, this brand, and he started to talk, and they thought they were talking to me, but they remember the name LIGHTBOB, so they thought it was me. And then when I realized, well, and I don't know, but I knew what they did. I knew what they brought, because when he came back to the office, he brought some products, and we did some stuff with it. But it is always a good practice to go out, talk to people, and even my designers that work for me, I would send them to Light Fair or to Education or any other fair that are local, so that they can go around and learn and see, and specifically, I would send them to different show, interior design show, boat show. I would send them even to a toy show, because sometimes toys are a good source of inspiration when you're designing product. So again, with this idea that you can produce anything, right? There's no project that cannot be done, because if you want to do some high rise fixtures, that, well, there are some companies that are specialized in that. If you want to do stuff for medical, there is companies that are specialized in that. If you want to do aerospace, there's companies that are specialized in that. So you being you're navigating through all of this, is very important that you realize that all you need to do is find the right players, introduce yourself, and look how you can use this and make it grow, and find a little niche and just jump in. So as I told you, to grow your product line, if you're a small manufacturer, it's not something that's really hard, because uh, you can buy a lot of component, and then you have the luxury of designing whatever your talent and good at. If you're trying to compete with a larger manufacturer, uh, it's knowing how to work with OEM is fantastic, because they will provide you with all the intel. They already know what other does or works and doesn't work, and if they try, and if it never worked. I have a good saying that before I do something, I look on the market if there's something like this available. It's very, very rare, but not impossible, that if nobody else did it, it's going to be a one night, overnight success. In the field that we work, there's very not competitive, but there's very conservative people, architect, engineers, clients, and if it's not done anywhere, they want to see it. So you might have to do a few prototypes, install them on your own, and show people that how it works, and then after a while they'll start to adopt it. Um, and 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 it's that's the market. So I mean, if you're a fixture designer, lighting control, um, source, driver, wiring harness, mounting brackets, pole, or etc., suspension kit, those are all tools that can save you time. And time is one of the most precious things. And by working with people that can provide you these products, it will elevate your design. You'll come to market way faster than anybody else, because you're going to have all the shortcuts, all the approval, all the technical files, all the CAD drawings, everything, so that you can move very, very quickly. So you know, don't let your supplier define your identity. If you're working with somebody and they say, "Well, that's all we have," well, guess what? It's on you. All you have to do is change the narrative. Go to trade show. You see somebody that has something that you like, you engage with the person. My favorite thing when I go to trade show is to talk to OEM people. Yeah, but look at these fixtures. I understand. This is the flavor of the month, and you want to sell a lot of them, and you might will, maybe a lot of people. But I'm interested to see what can I get out of this company. What other tools I can work with your company. What OEM product do you have available? You said this fixture has this light engine that is revolutionary because it's paired with that driver. Can I have the access to these components? And then you have a totally different conversation. But this conversation cannot be had with the salespeople because the salespeople are there to sell the light fixtures. And the thing they don't want is a competitor. But the manufacturers, what they want to do is make more sales overall. So they want to sell fixtures, they want to sell components. So you using their component in the home run fixtures will only help them to have a better look, an overall look, than just selling their fixtures. And of course, when negotiations start, if you're creating a product that compete with theirs, it's not gonna fly. But having the creative juice and also being able to use this technology in a different application or in a different setup or in a different mounting or in a different area just will increase their sales and make you an ally more than uh, than a competitor. So don't disconnect from your intention. Just fill up your toolbox with more and more and more tools. And OEM is not about outsourcing product. Again, it's about expanding your capability. It's about you know it's about taking light and bringing it into a system. And system a lighting system, it requires leadership. So you, as a small manufacturer and having all these ideas, if you focus and channel all your leadership at the right place, build yourself an amazing team, you'll you'll go in place nobody ever went, very, very, very fast. And that's the key word today. Is the word is speed. And how do you get speed? You don't hire 75 employees. You create strategic alliance. So the next episode on Thursday, we're gonna talk about hiring. It's funny. And so how does the market and who to hire and how we do this and et cetera, et cetera. And hope you had a good time. For me, it's always fun to talk about things that I like, and I